Meanwhile, Ming stood in his room, fixing his hair, making sure he looked presentable for his date before heading out. He got into his car and grabbed his cell phone, telling Momo that he was on his way to pick her up and that she should get ready. With that, he drove off, eager and anticipating a one-on-one date with her. His cell phone rang, and he immediately answered. Yan's voice came through, asking where he was. She told him she was craving prawn noodles and begged him to bring them for her. Ming hesitated, glancing at the time, unwilling to risk being late for his date with Momo. Before he could respond, Yan insisted, saying he was her only friend and the only one who could help her. She added that it was okay if he couldn't do it. Feeling guilty, Ming told her he would bring the prawn noodles. Yan thanked him before hanging up. Glancing at the time again, Ming realized it was almost time and that Momo was probably waiting. His heart heavy, he made a U-turn and headed back to the mall to get Yan her prawn noodles. Meanwhile, Leewi pressed on the accelerator, his eyes never leaving Fang's car speeding ahead. He thought about how he would not stop until he caught up with him. Fang could not get away. Fang pressed his accelerator too, unwilling to slow down, his gaze flicking nervously to the car trailing him. They drove in tense silence until they were far out of town, surrounded by nothing but the empty bush. There was no one around. Liwei's car shot forward and halted just in front of Fang's, blocking his escape. Fang's eyes widened as realization hit him. It had been a trap. Leewi had chased him out of town, into the wilderness, deliberately isolating them. Fang's glance shifted to Liwei's approach, gun and shovel in hand. Trembling, he froze. Fear gripped him as he realized how serious and deadly Leewi looked. He stepped out of the car, instinctively trying to run, but Leewi was already close. His voice rang out, firm and cold, pointing the gun at Fang's head as he commanded him to stop. Fang trembled at the sight, asking what Leewi was doing, if he had lost his mind. Liwei's gaze was unflinching, voice icy as he told Fang he was the one insane for thinking he could try and kill him. He added that he had warned him countless times to stop pestering him, but Fang had refused to listen. Stepping in front of him, Liwei's eyes locked onto Fang's, gun trained unwaveringly, still cold and sharp. He handed him the shovel and ordered him to dig his own grave, declaring that he would bury him alive. Fang's entire body went numb. He stammered, telling Leewi he was insane if he thought he could do such a thing, but Liwei's gaze never wavered. Adjusting the gun, finger on the trigger, he pressed closer, his words cutting through the tension like a blade. He was not the one who had pursued Fang, nor the one who sought to kill him. He was defending himself since Fang is the one who declared war first. He added that Fang would die before he had the chance to kill him, and that was just survival, nothing serious. The command was clear, unrelenting. Dig. Fang, tears streaming down his face, trembling violently, gripped the shovel with shaking hands. Each movement was labored and desperate, sobs breaking through as he dug the pit for his own life. Leewi stood over him, gun trained steadily, watching every trembling motion, every tear-streaked face, ensuring that every inch of that grave was dug by Fang's own hand. Ming made his way to Yan's house and immediately rushed to her room, mind racing with how he would drop off the food and then head to Momo. He stepped inside and found her lying on the bed, laptop open, absorbed in a movie. The room was a mess. Papers and belongings scattered everywhere, a physical manifestation of the chaos Ming could sense in her. His eyes softened with worry as he told her to stop letting herself fall apart like this, that she needed to step outside, breathe fresh air, and not trap herself in her room all day. Yan lifted her eyes just briefly and told him she did not want to face the world outside, that people would laugh at her, that online trolls were fleas mocking her, and going out would only make it worse. Ming moved closer, voice firm yet gentle, insisting that she could not live according to other people's opinions, that people would always talk no matter what. He pleaded with her to stop hiding in this self-imposed prison, to remember who she was, to find herself again, reminding her that her past relationship with Leewi failing was not the end of the world. Yan did not look at him. Her gaze was locked on the screen, her attention fixed on the movie. Ming's cell phone beeped, drawing his eyes. Momo's message asked if he was still coming. Acting quickly, he placed the prawn noodles on her bed and said he had brought them, just as she had requested. He looked at her, voice heavy with emotion, hoping she would remember her worth, hoping she would stop shrinking away from the world. Before he could turn to leave, Yan's hand shot out, gripping his. The air between them froze. She told him they should get married. Ming's heart stuttered. He froze, stunned, unable to believe the words had left her lips. He looked at her, asking what she had just said. She did not flinch, repeating herself, her eyes steady and unwavering. They should get married. Ming's mind spun. He had dreamed of this moment for as long as he could remember, since they were children. The day he would finally be with her, the day he would make her his wife. And now, it was here. But joy was tempered by an unexpected heaviness in his chest. He was unsure, torn, feelings spinning out of control. He was not sure if he could say yes. Yan waited, breath held, eyes locked on his, silently demanding an answer. Slowly, deliberately, Ming released his hand from hers and told her he had to think about it. Shock rooted Yan to the bed. The Ming she had known, the one who had always been obsessed with her, would never have hesitated, would never have said he needed time. Yet now, he did. She asked what he meant. He explained that they had not even dated yet, and that she wanted to skip straight to marriage. He glanced at his phone again. Momo was calling. Looking back at Yan, he told her he had to go and reminded her to take care of herself. With that, he rushed out, leaving Yan sitting alone, stunned and breathless, trying to understand how Ming could have become so distant so suddenly. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, Leewi stood with his gun trained on Fang, the tension in the air almost suffocating. Fang dug frantically, tears streaming down his face, body trembling, his sobs piercing the silence. Leewi ordered him to stop, forcing him to kneel, eyes locked on him with a cold, lethal fury. Fang shivered, each heartbeat a hammer against the certainty of his own mortality. His voice cracked as he begged for mercy, insisting that he had never intended to kill Leewi, that the man in the mask had orchestrated everything. Leewi leaned closer, eyes sharp, unyielding. He did not believe in manipulation. Fang had acted on his own will, driven by what he had wanted to do. Fang's pleas grew louder, hands clenching, voice breaking, promising he would never challenge Leewi again, never attempt to take over East Gate Group. He begged for his life, but Leewi's eyes darkened further. The gun's cold weight was unwavering in his hands as he pressed his finger against the trigger. His words were icy, final. It was too late for apologies. The shot rang out, cutting through the night with brutal precision. Fang collapsed to the ground, silence immediately falling like a shroud, his sobs abruptly silenced, the gravity of Leewi's wrath lingering in the tense, suffocating air. Fang, still lying on the ground, slowly opened his eyes, his hands trembling as he instinctively searched over his body for any gunshot wounds. Relief flooded him when he realized there were none. Leewi had not shot him. His chest heaved as he sat up, scanning the area, every nerve on edge, while Leewi's cold, icy gaze remained locked on him. The sharp intensity in those eyes made Fang shiver. Leewi's voice cut through the air, low and menacing, warning him that if he went back on his word, if he tried anything like this again or dared to bother him, he would not hesitate next time. He would ensure Fang's grave would be his final resting place. Leewi stepped closer, his presence dominating, and grabbed Fang's car keys and cell phone, his authority leaving no room for argument. He instructed Fang to get into the grave he had dug. Fang hesitated, panic tightening in his chest, but Liwei's voice cut through the hesitation like steel, commanding him to obey. Trembling violently, Fang climbed into the shallow earth, pleading for his life, begging Liwei not to do anything to him. Liwei's gaze did not waver as he told him coldly to find his own way home. With that, Liwei turned, walked to his car, slid in, and drove off, leaving Fang trapped, alone, shivering in the grave he had dug himself. The key and phone gone, his body numb with fear, the reality of his narrow escape from death pressed down on him like a crushing weight. Meanwhile, high above the city, Momo and Ming sat together at a rooftop restaurant, the warm glow of lanterns casting soft light across their table. The city stretched endlessly around them, a sea of glittering lights beneath the dark sky. Ming's gaze never left her as he told her she looked beautiful. Momo's smile brightened, her cheeks warming as she thanked him and told him he looked good too. Curious, she asked why he had taken so long to arrive, mentioning that he had texted earlier saying he was on his way, and she had expected him to be early. Ming paused for a moment, the gentle breeze ruffling his hair, before explaining that he had been caught in traffic. Momo leaned in closer, a teasing smile playing on her lips, suggesting that since they were finally on a date, he should tell her more about himself. Ming's eyes met hers, steady and calm, asking what she wanted to know. Her smile lingered as she said she wanted to know everything, about his family, his likes, and the things that made him who he was. Ming took a slow sip of juice, savoring the moment, before sharing that he was an only child, that both of his parents were retired, renowned doctors, and that he considered himself a simple man, not complicated. He added that his parents were already elderly and often pestered him about marriage and children, which was why he wanted to start dating seriously. Momo's cheeks flushed a deep rose as she looked at him, her eyes bright, telling him that they would make the best couple. She reached across the table, taking his hands in hers. Ming, caught off guard, looked away, a faint blush coloring his face, his heart racing with an unmistakable infatuation. Unbeknownst to them, just across the rooftop, Yan's friend had spotted the pair. Surprised and a little mischievous, she quietly pulled out her cell phone and began snapping pictures of them, capturing the intimate, unaware moment as they sat together, lost in each other's presence. Leewi made his way back into his house, his steps low and deliberate, each one measured and quiet. The living room was dim, and he found the little boy already passed out on the couch. Carefully, he scooped him into his arms, feeling the boy's small, warm weight against him, and carried him to his room. He tucked him gently into bed, smoothing the blankets over him and pausing beside him to watch his peaceful sleep. His voice, soft but firm, broke the quiet of the room as he noted that it was high time he returned the boy to his family. The longer the boy stayed with him, the more trouble it could bring, especially given that he and May were not seeing eye to eye. He lingered for a moment, giving him one last glance before turning and walking out. Liwei's gaze fell on the engagement ring he had bought for Amara, lying on the bed. Slowly he picked it up, holding it delicately between his fingers, lost in thought. His mind replayed the plan he had so carefully crafted, to announce his relationship with Amara publicly and use it as bait to lure out the mastermind. But the plan hadn't worked. Perhaps, he reasoned, it was for the better. She had already endured so much, from being kidnapped by May and James to the near-fatal encounter with Fang. Using her as bait would have put her life in even greater danger. Liwei dialed Master Shen's number, the phone ringing sharply in the quiet room before Shen answered. Without hesitation, Liwei spoke, stating that the plan involving Amara must be canceled. Before Shen could ask why, Liwei continued, explaining the string of recent events and her suffering. He emphasized that they would find another way, that the sooner they neutralized the mastermind, the better, and he felt certain that success was within reach. They were close, and it was only a matter of time. Master Shen agreed, but warned that the closer they got, the greater the dangers that would emerge. He stressed the need for caution, planning meticulously, and avoiding haste, as rushing would only lead to risk. Leewi remained silent for a moment, unsettled by Shen's sudden cautiousness. This was not the Master Shen he knew, the man who would stride into fire without hesitation. Yet now he spoke of danger and caution. Choosing not to dwell on it, Leewi simply agreed, acknowledging that careful planning was indeed necessary. The following morning, Leewi sat in his car with May and James's son, driving him to his grandparents' house. The boy's small face was etched with sadness, glancing up at Leewi as he spoke, expressing his reluctance to go and his wish to stay with Amara. Leewi remained silent, his eyes focused on the road, but the boy's pleading continued, promising he would be good if allowed to stay. Finally, Leewi spoke, explaining that it was not legal for him and Amara to remain with the boy without his family's consent. He reassured him that his grandparents would care for him and that he would be safe. Pulling into the yard, Leewi stepped out with the boy, who hesitated at the threshold, reluctant to enter. Leewi rang the doorbell several times before the door finally opened. They were ushered in by the butler. May's grandmother was seated comfortably with a teacup in hand, and one of her grandchildren sitting at the piano, roughly the same age as May and James's son. The old woman's gaze fell on Leewi, amusement flickering across her features as she remarked that it was a miracle to see the mighty Leewi visiting their household. Leewi, getting straight to the point, glanced down at the boy before turning back to her. He told her he had come to drop off her grandson, that the boy had nowhere else to go, and that as his family, they needed to take him in. A small child should not be left alone without guardians. The old woman chuckled softly, her eyes narrowing slightly as she looked back at Leewi. She scolded him, asking when he had begun to act like Jesus, noting that he was the reason May ended up paralyzed in the first place, yet here he was, trying to play the Good Samaritan. Leewi stood there looking at her without a word, the tension between them palpable and heavy.